If you read that, let me go ahead and read it for you. Yeah, it's a fear driven willful blindness that makes retards of us all. Such evil we counter by acting as if we cannot see. Humility, in that we were not made to see such evil. It's true, we weren't created to see evil. And maybe that's what it is. Why it is that something as obvious as, for instance, why it was that China released COVID, an engineered pathogen that was designed to strategically to do exactly what it did. And it's known that COVID the COVID was an engineered virus pathogen, but when it comes down to the reason released it, why they released it, that's where people, I think, are especially challenged to see, or to come to grips with that. But at the time that at that time I was clinging to hanging on to then President Trump's Twitter account. I'm a disabled veteran, and I've suffered with a lot of problems. From, of course, injuries that happened by no fault of my own while in service to our nation. But then there's the matter that disabled veterans, they have to have a 100% VA rating of disability to receive any dental care whatsoever. And when I say that, I am talking about even getting a prescription of antibiotics for a bodily infection from a tooth. That's how cruel, that's how dishonorable their fucking policy is. That's how they treat our disabled veterans, who they are responsible for taking care of. That's how fucking poor the care is, that they would make dental care a fucking vanity fucking deal, like it's all about fucking vanity, our fucking teeth, instead of our health. So anyway, I was clinging to President Trump's Twitter, and as a disabled veteran, fucking begging for help, with my teeth, because they were so fucking bad, and I was suffering so much, and I didn't have no money to even have extractions or anything. So, President Trump even liked one of my tweets. It wasn't the video that I'm sure he saw of me pulling out one of my motherfucking teeth. It wasn't that one that he liked. I don't know which one he liked, but I was getting in there as soon as he would fucking tweet, and I was boom right in there, and all those flag hugging, professing people, fucking so-called patriots that say they love our veterans so motherfucking much. I was right in there fucking begging for help, and all they were doing was fucking bragging about their fucking prosperity, and Trump as well. And it's like I was able to see, to know what was going through President Trump's mind. I was in sync. And let me go ahead and just take a moment. Now I can say, look, sometimes expletives are appropriate, and if you don't like it, fuck you. That's how I feel about it. If you fucking are offended more by the word fuck than you are about what the fuck I just said about our disabled veterans, getting fucking substandard fucking care. Well, you got a real fucking problem with fucking reality. I don't know where you are, man, but you're out of touch. Anyway, you gotta live it, man, and then maybe you'd feel the same way. If only I could impart this life experience. If only I could. That empirical. But, you know, that I can't do it, can I? So either you know or you don't know. And if you don't know, then you're oblivious, and your apathy, you know, is what rules. So anyway, there I am, hanging on this Twitter account and being ignored. And it was strange that, look, let me just say this, you know, I was gifted in Jesus' name to know some things. The Most High God, Yahweh, God Jehovah, God, Eloah Jehovah gave me discernment. And at that time, you know, Trump, he was going after China and establishing new trade parameters. And he was bullying China. I mean, the way that he was acting, it's like I thought that it was so inappropriate and so irresponsible, the way he was bullying China. I'm like, as a bystander, as watching, just someone that witnessed it, I knew that it was a big mistake. So I wouldn't have imagined that China would have done what they did, but I was able to see it. And the reason why they released COVID, you know, I knew that they had released an engineered pathogen right from the beginning. I knew that it was as a form of it was a response, a retaliation to, you know, what Trump was doing, and I was able to see it. And wow, you know, it's really ugly when you see something like that. But I did, and then I witnessed how abysmal it was, how Trump handled the pandemic from the beginning, calling it a hoax, and how he wrestled with even the idea of mitigation. You know, he was all about, you know, keeping the economy pumping and hanging on to his platform for re-election, which was what? Prosperity. And you could see that, you know, that he was always looking for a way, like, to get things up and moving as quickly as possible. And he was gauging everything that was whatever feedback to the way that he was addressing, you know, handling the pandemic politically. You know, it wasn't really for care of our citizens. It was like he was, you know, as a politician, he was measuring everything and gauging everything for his re-election. I saw it and I was like, man, weird. You know, it really sucked to be being at his mercy like that. And I wondered, you know, I was like, what is he going to do? Because I knew that he was going to figure out a way to get to bring about community spread as soon as possible. And how did he do that? You know, he came out and he acted like a dictator. He said, "The buck stops with me. I have the last word. Whatever's done, Like he was, he presented himself uh, to he did this purposely so that so that he would be criticized, but he came off like an autocrat, and then he was criticized by the far left. So what did he do then? He gave autonomy to state governors to do whatever they wanted with COVID, and of course his sycophants, the governors that have their head up his ass, they went ahead and they did what he wanted, like DeSantis for one example. That he fucking opened everything up, and if you have memory of what happened, you know that it was a horror story what happened in Florida and other places in our nation where state governors, just opened everything up, and the hospitals and were overrun. There wasn't enough health. There weren't enough people in our healthcare system to even deal with it, and it was horrible, man. What it was that he did, and he did it like as a last ditch. It wasn't. I don't even think he thought that it was even going to be successful to get the economy up and running in time for the election. But he did it anyway. If he would have handled things, with compassion, with more care, instead of coaching, his followers, to mask shame everyone and to fight, against whatever mitigation protocols. Trump is responsible for all of that shit. He is the one. He is the agent provocateur. For that. He even talked his followers into sacrificing their loved ones for his reelection. I mean, yes. He put himself in that light, like it's so important for him to be reelected that even if you lose a loved one due to opening things up and community spread, you understand? Truthfully, that's what he did. It was really really horrible what he did, and people I knew no one would hold him accountable, and pretty much nobody did. Nobody did. But I remember as clearly as last week. I mean, it was, to me, it's fresh. The helplessness, man, that my wife and I felt, and others, so many others we knew, that being at his mercy, and he was coming out there, and he's got, what, at one point I saw it when he did have COVID, he had how many doctors surrounding him. He had a team of the best oncologists, probably in our nation, in the world, I don't know, but surrounding him. He had the best care. I mean, there's no one that had the care that he had, and yet he acted like it was nothing. Of course it was nothing, because he had the best protocol. He had medicine and care, I'm saying, that no one has. My wife and I couldn't even get a protocol, for COVID when we had it twice, because of the politics, because of the acrimony, what Trump had cultivated purposely. So, it was bad. And he was never held accountable. But I was able to see that China did release that pathogen in response to Trump's impetuous bullying of them, setting in place new trade parameters, forcing China into new trade parameters that were obviously, it was something that China wasn't going to tolerate. And, their response they retaliated, by releasing that engineered pathogen that they knew exactly what it would. I'd say exactly. They had a really good idea what it was going to do, and that it accomplished what they wanted it to accomplish. Do a little bit of spend some time researching how China benefited from the pandemic and what they accomplished. And but I saw it, and if you can't see it, I guess I understand why, because it's a really ugly thing to have to think about, to acknowledge. It's a reality that is frightening. I had a lot of people that, if they came to that realization, they saw it for what it is, it could cause someone to go into such a state of depression they might even, take their life or something. I mean, it's that dark, it's that evil, so it's understandably we would avoid that. People would avoid the truth, in this. And when you see Fauci, Fauci's like the one that they're using for obfuscation, confusion, to redirect, like Fauci is the one. He's the bad guy. that's laughable. I'll tell you, it really is. As flawed as we all are, and I know Fauci made some mistakes. He's human. What I saw out of him was someone that was sincerely trying to slow things down. Maybe he knew that the virus was going to burn out, like it did. Maybe he knew more about the virus, what it was. I'm saying than he even talked about. He knew. Of course, there's a lot of things that he knows, working in that what is a secret virus program, which is a virologist working. I conjecture, and it's a strong conjecture that he has been involved in designing, in part, or who knows. I mean, we're talking about bioweapons, and knows those people that have invested their life into that line of work, so. But Fauci didn't release that virus. He may have known a lot more about it than many, but yeah, it's depressing, man. I know it is. Machines, whatever the hell they were, retooling them to spray whatever it was to kill any virus, it was so obvious, the exaggerated response. Whereas that is exactly exaggerated response. Whereas just have to go ahead and. Yeah, well, let me go back. Hold on a minute. But that is exactly why China released that engineered pathogen. It was in retaliation to what, Mr. President, to what you did by bullying them into new trade parameters and all that bullshit. Your fucked up stupidity and how you fucking handled that situation. You didn't have the foresight to see it, that they would do something like that. And I don't even know if you can grasp, the humility, to own it. Whereas you said so many times, it was China. Your fucking exaggerated fucking bullshit. You know damn well they did release an engineered pathogen, and you are the reason why, sir. You. And anyone that is hearing what I just said, who has a couple brain cells to rub together, surely they know that what I just said is true. It's absolutely true. And just like the United States, by dropping 2 atomic bombs, fucking, used that as like a currency. That kind of like knowing that they would do something like that. That it was of value in fucking negotiations and what have you. So many in the world that have the brains to see, to understand, to discern what it is that China did. They know that gave China that same currency. Now, true. It's the will to do that. Just like when Norfolk Southern burned off all of those fucking contaminants, and it went into Pennsylvania. Thousands of people were left oblivious to be contaminated with all of that shit. It just shows then too, because same type of thing, parallel, because there were supplies that were on those rails that were being delayed for fucking Ukraine. So Russia, they were able to see that our nation would fucking do something like that to its own citizens, to support even that fucking supply effort to Ukraine. The will, to, murder, kill, fucking maim your own citizens, to say fuck them. Just like staying in Vietnam, the will to fucking do so. Even if you have, the whole nation in upheaval, fucking, protesting against the war. Staying there for how long afterwards with all of that pressure. It's the same type of a situation. It's disgusting. Ooh, you motherfuckers. Yeah, China's exaggerated response, to the pandemic, locking down people in their apartments and spraying down streets and everything with, that equipment, like street sweeping machines, whatever the hell they were, retooling them to spray whatever it was to kill any virus. It was so obvious, the exaggerated response. Whereas just have to go ahead and chart how China benefited, from releasing that pathogen, to have new agreements with other nations, markets that they opened with nations in South America to replace whatever dependency in any way that they had upon the United States, for their, especially for their defeating their nation. If they're so, that's some of the most important moves that China made to loose themselves from any dependency upon the United States. And they did that during the pandemic. Yeah, they did that. It was all strategic, man. Smart. Evil, but very smart. Yeah. Creative response. Excuse me. Whereas, excuse me. Go ahead and stop that there for a moment. I hear what it is that I'm saying, and I know that most everyone that just if you listen to that, you probably think it sounds like musings from a madman. It sounds crazy. But just for the sake of an exercise, it's been already been proven that it was an engineered virus, a pathogen. So, how do you think it was? It became then. How do you think it was introduced into our population? I'm saying of the world. And ask yourself a few of those questions like that. And do you really think that the lab there in Wuhan, is it Wuhan, right? Is that how you pronounce it? In China, that lab or some other lab where they are the virologists are experimenting with pathogens, highly contagious pathogens. Do you really believe that it's that easy, for a pathogen to get out of a lab? You don't think that there are multiple redundant safeguards? Because that's the first thing that if you believe the lie that's told, that you hear how those protocols, to keep us safe, those safeguards. If you believe that those labs are handled, in such a way that it's so easy for a pathogen to escape, and I maybe do a little bit of research into that, because I don't think it would take long. For you to find out that it's near damn impossible, for anything to escape from a lab, like that, like Wuhan. Man, that's that's the lie that they've spun. First of all, that these that's a really come on, man, better than that. Oh my God. Just think about it. Think about the way that it spread so fast, and think about how benign it was. Uh, Benign in that it could have been so much more virulent than what it was. And I know we're talking about a lot of suffering, and many died. But that was a benign pathogen in comparison to you know to what they could have released, what I'm sure that they have, which is now something that they've gained respect, in this evil world. It's not talked about, as far insofar as what yeah, no one's going to confront China like about this, and but that anyone that is look, yeah, I don't know if there is a developed nation in this world that's not that doesn't know already. I mean, all about what it is that I'm saying. This is elementary. They know exactly what it is that what I'm saying here. They know that this is fact. That yes, they did, and well, what the hell can they do about it? maybe try to avoid stepping on China's toes again. And you see the way that President Trump, the way he behaves now with China. But you can't, what was done, that kind of impetuous, that bullying, the way that President Trump handled them. Wow. Yeah, doesn't, it's, when it comes to, like, think about it, how many people, China, how many people, the population of China as a nation, what are we looking at? How many billion? I don't know what it is. It's how many times more, people are there than in the United States or any other nation on this planet. And India's got a large population, maybe second to China. I'm not sure about that, but I think so. But when it comes to shit, you can't bully. China will do China. As a I can understand, as evil as it was, what it is that they've done. I still understand why they did it. Whew. I mean, it's evil, but this world is evil, and it's I actually can see why they did it, and whew, it's anyway. Yeah, I know it's unsettling if you give any credence to what it is that I've said. But as common people, citizens of this world, that don't have to think about these type of things. So it's not something that we will want to accept, this kind of a reality, this truth, how ugly it is, how evil it is. But hey, look, when Norfolk Southern, they had a derailment on the 3rd of February 2023. It was on the Ohio-Pennsylvania border, and they were found negligent, in the derailment. And from the very beginning of the first responders, when they arrived on the scene, they were told to not put out the fires. And Norfolk Southern, they illegally burned everything off that was involved in the derailment. And they lied, later, and claimed that it was only 5 containers. That's what they based the silencing settlement on, and even had it a radius settlement, whereas half of the people didn't even receive the contamination. The winds all blew to the east onto Pennsylvanians. And it was all positioned in East Palestine. And check this out. I recorded the video of the massive fallout here in Pennsylvania on the 6th, when they burnt everything that was left on the site of the derailment on the Pennsylvania-Ohio border. It was at least 34 containers, railroad containers, that were carrying carcinogenic industrial product, chemicals and such. And they went in there, and under the guard, under the protection of Governor DeWine declared a false state of emergency, activated our Army National Guard, and used them to keep people out from capturing their preparations that they had to make in order to illegally burn off everything that was left on the site that they weren't able to burn off in a 3-day period that they, actually actively managed burning it off. There was whatever was left, they burned off on the 6th. But they had to go in there and put out the fires that they said they could go nowhere near, and then dig out trenches on either side of the tracks, and then pump that highly flammable, there was a lot of chemical there that they burned off, carcinogenic industrial chemical. And they had to pump it from those tankers into those trenches, and then you saw the plume on the 6th. Everybody who knows about what it was, this disaster. But it wasn't a disaster for East Palestine. It was a disaster for Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvanians, I captured on timestamp cellular video, even Channel 4 Action News, WTAE, Channel 4 out of Pittsburgh, they were there where I captured the fallout from all these massive carcinogenic laden smoke clouds that were dragging on the ground going through Beaver and Lawrence County in Pennsylvania at 2 to 4 miles per hour. I'm not exaggerating. That's how slow that shit was moving through. And WTAE was right there. I captured them, right there. And they never reported on anything. They never gave warning to thousands of people that could have sheltered in place or evacuated. And they allowed intentionally thousands of people to be contaminated so that those multi-billion-dollar corporations could get away with what it is that they had done and not be held accountable for what was a multi-billion-dollar disaster here in Pennsylvania. But they positioned it all in East Palestine, where none of the contamination blew into, or even into Ohio. It was all a lie. So, I mean, when you look at that, I wonder if I just stated that, and in truth, I would bet that very few, if anyone listening to what I just said, would even fucking take the time to Google this matter and fucking look at the radar evidence from what I'm talking about, which irrefutably shows that all of the winds blew to the east. You can see it on radar. You can see where the fucking shit went into Pennsylvania. That everything I just said is proven just by the radar alone and the satellite imagery. All of it, what I just said. And one fucking what I'm talking about, one research fucking session will take you fucking a half an hour, and you can put together every bit of the fucking evidence that corroborates what I fucking just said, irrefutably. But you won't. Why? Because it fucking scares the shit out of you. You're frightened as fuck about it. You don't want nothing to do with it. It scares the shit out of you. And you so much so that even if it was your own family, your own loved ones, you probably wouldn't do anything. Just like the firemen who were told to not put out the fires. They stood to the west of those massive fires, the derailment fires on the 3rd, that whole night and morning, and then stood there for 3 fucking days to pose for the media, who made it look like they were trying to put out fires, when they were told to not put out fires. In truth, captured them posing, looking like they were trying to put out fires. And none of those firemen raised their voice, and many of them were from Pennsylvania. Emergency, first responders from Pennsylvania, and they didn't even fucking raise their voice. And their own children, their parents, their loved ones, friends, whatever, they were all fucking contaminated to whatever degree with a cocktail of carcinogens, and they kept their fucking mouth shut. Why? Many of them because they knew they had something coming to them. I heard that they got at least $70,000 apiece. And then Governor Shapiro took a $7 million soft bribe from Norfolk Southern to hand out to the fire stations to do whatever they wanted, buy a new truck or put in walking trails around their fucking fire station or whatever they wanted to do. But what I'm saying is, you don't want to hear that either, right? Everything I just said to you, you don't fucking care, do you? Even if it was your kid, I guess, that was waiting for a bus standing at a bus stop the next day on the 7th of February 2023, out there waiting for a fucking bus, ingesting all those carcinogenic particles that were coating everything, and where that fucking all that smoke went and fucking fell out. It did. It actually just fell out. It got heavy. It collected water molecules. Properties, of those chemicals. They attracted water molecules and got then heavy, from the water weight, and fell, and coated it, whatever, there, everything. So, but carcinogens, and you don't give a fuck, do you? No. Nobody does. I've contacted people from locally all the way up to now 2 administrations. Nobody has the courage. I have heard maybe 2 people address it as illegal and criminal. I'm talking about 2 people out of how many? I'm just saying. And there's not one fucking news report about the contamination of Pennsylvania, because the media worked that tight with those corporations and those criminal Ohio authorities. But you don't want to hear that, do you? You don't give a fuck, do you? Even if it was your own family, I doubt that you would fucking say anything. I don't know who's listening, but I can tell you in truth that I have heard nobody fucking say anything about this. And I've been at it all this time, man, contacting as many people as I could, and there is nobody that has fucking courage, decency, integrity, honor enough to fucking do anything to hold those corporations accountable, or the authorities that worked hand in hand with them, and the fucking media. So I'm just saying, that's in plain sight. That fucking evil. So you hear what I said about, fucking China releasing, an engineered pathogen, and I suggest to you the reason why they fucking did it. And you think I sound like probably a fucking crazed maniac, some fucking whack job. But that is what happened. It's fear, man. It's just fear. I would call it cowardice, but look, I think it's just our survival, senses, like it's something that we know that the people behind these evil acts, are powerful, and we could get hurt, we could lose our life, it's life threatening, it's something that truths like this, that what I've just said, is they are dangerous. So nobody says anything, and that's oh, good Lord, man, it's so depressing, man. It's just so absolutely so dark and depressing. It's like, it reminds me of the movie, if you ever seen the movie Omega Man, right? Charlton Heston and what's that famous actor, man? Good Lord. It's funny, he's from a generation before me. Man, he's famous. It's the last film he was in. Edward G. Robinson, I think that's his name. But it's a scene. There's a scene in that movie where he learns the truth of what is happening, and it's so fucking evil. What it is that he learns, that he fucking commits suicide. He doesn't even want to fucking live in this world like anymore. And if we could see the evil in everything, the corruption and the so things that like what I just said, there's so many things like that are going on. It could be overwhelming that way, where you would yeah. It's dark, man. It's a dark world. Dark.